So that always, all of your information will go into our minutes and things like that as well, and be sent out to folks who weren't here, so that all that information gets to as many people as possible. Beautiful, thanks. All right, now let me open it up to other partners. So Ashley, we know you're going to be our featured speaker, but we've got UUSC in the house, we got UUSJ. Anybody, any of our partners want to go next in terms of some brief partner announcements? Heather or Hannah?
I can jump in first. Yeah, thanks so much. This is Heather Vickery, she, her, hers. I am the coordinator for congregational activism at the UU Service Committee, and just have a very general update and then 3 specific things that I'd like to bring up to everyone. First is that, remember, I'm here to support you all. That's one of the big parts of my job. And as some folks know, I have come in and done workshops for state action networks, like done coaching events, all that. So if you're looking for something to offer congregations, or sorry, my air conditioner just shut off, so I don't have to yell anymore. If you're looking for something to offer your congregations or anything like that, let's work together and talk and see if that's something that I can bring to you all and help build up your networks and your connections across the state. I can be one of the resources that you offer, basically. Now for the 3 more specific pieces. I put this on the CUUSAN message board, but we have partnered with the Protect Dissent Network in the past, and they have an upcoming convening in August. And I know that some of y'all are in states where protest is, the right to protest is under attack itself. And so if this is something that's interesting to you, there's a way to do this virtually, but there's also a way to travel to DC and be there in person if that's something that you think would be helpful for your state action network, for your own personal growth. And although I don't know how much I have, we have said that we have some money to support y'all going. So if this is something that you want to travel and you want to go to this event in August, please let me know, and I'm going to see what I can do to help defray some of that costs for you. I will be on it on Zoom, but like I said, let me know, and I will put my email in the chat, and we'll see what we can do. We've got some requests. If you know of congregations that might be interested in becoming CAPAS congregations, these are congregations that support asylum seekers. We desperately need more congregations to say yes to this, to support and sponsor an asylum seeker as a group. We have a waiting list of requests for folks who are detained right now who can't get out because they don't have sponsors. And so we're really looking for some outreach, and we know that you all know your congregations and your states better. So if you know of congregations that are doing migrant justice work, that are rocking it, that might be interested in having this conversation, again, please let me know. Or congregations that have like apartments or houses of their own, because that is one of the big things that is a struggle for folks when they sign up for this, is actually housing a migrant when they're coming out of detention. So, and the last but not least, I just got a request from our climate justice organizer. Our partner, the Lowlander Center in Louisiana, is looking for about 5 Unitarian Universalists who are committed to climate justice to come to a upcoming meeting with some federal folks to keep it, to basically get questions that have been given by Lowlander Center to keep it the focus on Indigenous folks and those who are being moved by climate justice in really unjust way, or climate change in unjust ways. And so if you, again, have folks, or you individually are interested and really committed to climate justice work, please let me know. Like I said, we want 5 individuals to kind of go to this whole program, and I can give you more details.
Is that Zoom or is that in person?
That's Zoom, sorry. That is a Zoom virtual meeting. You can be across the country. I had to specify that. You don't need to be in Louisiana, which is where the Lowlander Center is. It's a national ask. And so, yes, thank you for asking that question, Hannah. And actually, I'll pass it right to you if you have any updates to give or asks.
Sure. So I will be pretty brief since a lot of our UUSC focus is at the federal level. And I know that SANS are working on their state work, but there's so much that interconnects and is relevant, especially for those of you doing immigrant justice and asylum seeker support work. As you may know, we've been working with UUs for Social Justice and Pablo over there. And now Renwa at UUA is also part of the UU team planning around how do we restore asylum in the United States. And so back in April, we had a big UU letter, a series of in-person protests and events, collaborations with Welcome with Dignity, and the Center for Disease Control actually revoked Title 42 starting in late May. And so we thought that asylum was going to begin again at the border. And instead what happened was that a series of conservative states, Texas and Arizona, sued the federal government and got an injunction on Title 42 being lifted. At the same time, we have members of Congress, Sinema and Lankford on the Democrat side, working very hard to make Title 42 permanent law to stop all access to asylum, basically as long as COVID exists, which is really just using a public health crisis as an effort to mitigate immigration. We have been hearing about many deaths occurring because of Title 42, like the 52 individuals in the back of a trailer in San Antonio a couple of weeks ago, people who would be seeking asylum through the legal channels at the border if those were available. So the urgency is very real. And we are organizing call-in days for 2 weeks at the end of July, and we have a UU specific call-in day on the 19th. We also have a webinar for getting people up to speed on exactly what's going on with this and how they can be involved on the 18th. So I will put that information into the chat. It would be wonderful if you were able to send that out with your newsletters and be able to just let folks know that this is happening and that we need them. So thank you. Trying to be fast with that.
Thank you, Hannah. Yeah, and to all of our folks today, I'm trying to get as much out of the chat as I can, but if you have a tight blurb that you can easily just email me, that's also very helpful to do that as well. I know we're running a little short on time. Can I pass it over to Pablo to give us our UUSJ updates?
Sure. So UUSJ is focused on the Electoral Count Act this month, and we had a wonderful presentation from someone over at Protect Democracy last night. I'll circulate that video so you guys can look at it. But basically, the expectation is that the Senate will probably act sometime within the next, I'll just say month, let's say. And then at some point, it'll turn to the House. So you might hear from us about that, inviting your folks to join us for meetings and press the case that the Congress needs to pass the Electoral Count Act as soon as possible, because, you know, even though we're looking at a presidential election a year, you know, the next presidential election, the timetable really requires that they pass it this fall at the very, very latest. I also want to flag that I will be circling back to those of you from California, Florida, Iowa, Illinois, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, Ohio, and Washington, because you all have on the CUUSAN page statements to the effect that you're interested in environmental and economic justice issues. And I'm really interested in hearing about what you care about and what your accountable partners are thinking about in that portfolio, because we want to figure out how to be actionable on that. And oh, by the way, just this last month, a bunch of the national partners released a joint statement that sort of points in the direction of climate displacement as a major focus for UUs for the next year or so. So I know that UUSC was showcasing some of that work during GA, but we put out sort of began to roll that out, and we're inviting your organizations to join us in that and making a pledge to commit to climate force displacement as a thematic approach for the next year or so. So please look for that, and I'll get those details to Reverend Lisa. And in general, if you want to talk about coming to DC, or if you have plans to come to DC, please check in with me. We want to be your on the ground partner here in DC.
Thank you, Pablo, and thank you for that excellent event last night. It was really, really special. We were geeking out in the best possible way to prevent another coup. It was a really incredible event. Thank you. All right, anybody from OST, Jason, or I'm not sure if any other members from OST want to come on through with some announcements. Jason, is anything going on with you, the vote? Or are you guys?
Yeah, I do have some updates for everyone. So hello, everyone. I am Jason Hicks. For those who don't know, I am the campaign manager for UU The Vote. I see some of my friends here. I see Russ. I see Jean, who I met last night. Hi, Jean. Nice to meet you. I saw Joan. I know Joan's around. Anyway, so there you are, Joan. So I have two announcements really quickly. We have a climate resilience workshop on July 31st. I want to invite everyone to. I'm putting the sign up in the chat. Please, 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 if climate is important to you, please sign up and join us that day. And the other announcement is we are on the move at UU The Vote. And one thing that I'm going to be rolling out, this is rolling out to you all today, is we're going to be breaking our states up into 4 regions. There will be the Eastern region, South, Southwest, and Midwest region. We will be convening bi-weekly meetings so that we can have constant communication, not just with the states to the national team, but within states, so you all can talk to each other. So in the next couple of days, I'm going to be sending emails to invite you all to our bi-weekly regional meetings. And we're going to talk about UU The Vote stuff, what's going on in your state action networks, how to get our partners involved, and how to get our people activated. So again, those are going to be bi-weekly regional meetings with myself, and then we're going to be bringing on some regional coordinators at UU The Vote. And again, this is just to get some communication, get some stuff moving, and to make things easier for everybody involved. So those are my UU The Vote updates. Again, I'm going to be emailing you very, very shortly to schedule these bi-weekly meetings. And I can't wait to see you all. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. Appreciate you just like bringing so much energy to General Assembly. Your standing ovation. I mean, you just burnt the house down when you spoke at GA, and we're so excited. We're so excited for you to vote. All right, I think that's it. Any other, I know we're running a little bit behind. Are we good for partners? We ready to transition to our featured speaker? Beautiful, awesome. Well, we're so excited today to have our organizing and strategy director, Reverend Ashley Horan, here to talk to us about the current state of reproductive issues. I know this is obviously one of the great issues of this moment, and we're excited to hear from Ashley. And yeah, without further ado, I'll pass it over to you.
Hey, everybody. Nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, 5 out of 5 stars do recommend hiring a Baptist preacher as your UU The Vote organizer. You get UU's catching the Holy Ghost, and it's a beautiful thing. So yes, I am the organizing strategy director at the UUA. For those of you whom I don't know, that means that I lead the team that holds Side with Love and all of our 4 related campaigns: Love Resists, Create Climate Justice, Uplift Action, and UU The Vote. We are, busy, shall we say, in this moment. There's a whole lot going on. Oh, I should also mention that I am the former director of MUSJA, the Minnesota UU Social Justice Alliance. And so in many ways, I cut my teeth on this work as a part of this constellation of folks. So glad to be here in this today. So I've just kind of been asked to talk about from the UUA national perspective, kind of what we are doing around reproductive justice, how we can connect with congregations and with SANS, and to just kind of give you a sense of how we are navigating in this landscape that we have seen coming for a long time, but now, of course, are in. The first thing I want to mention is the action of immediate witness that was passed at General Assembly with great authorship and support from the UU Women's Fed. Thank you so much for that amazing work. As you probably know, actions of immediate witness are, you know, moral statements about current political and social justice issues that are of the moment. And they serve not only to sort of say, we care, we're interested, they call us to action in very particular ways. They're also historically very important because they are theological grounding for the work that we do, and in particular for the work that my team does. So, for example, when we get pushback about talking about police abolition, we can look at a whole series of statements over time that ground us, that are not just coming from some cabal of people sitting in an office in Boston somewhere, but that are coming from the delegates, right? From our people who are instructing us on the moral directions that we are taking. So similarly, we passed an AIW this year, reiterating our commitment as Unitarian Universalists, not just to supporting access to abortion and reproductive rights, but to a reproductive justice framework. And just as a quick reminder, reproductive justice is a term coined and a movement led by Black women and non-binary people starting in the 1990s. Currently, you know, some of the major organizations that hold that framework are organizations like Sister Reach and Sister Song. We have partnered with those folks over time and continue to try and ground in that, particularly as a predominantly white denomination. We are in accountable partnership and aspiring to the framework, which is a liberatory framework around not just abortion, but around reproductive rights, justice, and health for all people of all genders and all class and race backgrounds. So what that looks like practically living into that action of immediate witness is many things. We have been in conversation and partnership with the National Network of Abortion Funds at the at Side with Love. We partnered with them this spring to do a training around their heart-to-heart interpersonal conversations framework. We see that as one piece, of course, of organizing, but that those one-to-one conversations around abortion are applicable to any number of issues, right? So we view it through the lens of relational organizing, having the skills to talk deeply and articulately about our moral values as they intersect with issues of the day. We also recognize that congregations and individuals are going to need to be building relationships in their own communities. And so as we looked at the National Network of Abortion Funds heart-to-heart curriculum and said, oh, this would be really great for congregations to use, for example, for a UU congregation to approach their local Reform Jewish synagogue, your local UCC church, your local ELCA, Presbyterian, whatever, and invite folks to have some dialogue, right? Like we are going to need these multi-faith networks of people who are mobilized and ready to act. And it will not be helpful if we haven't done some of that relationship building background work, right? To set the foundations. I think UUs have a lot of assumptions that we are sort of light years ahead of and in a different place than many denominations. But let me tell you that I'm sitting on a number of interfaith tables around reproductive justice right now, and our siblings in faith are ready to move. And in fact, many are moving more quickly than we are. And so on the statewide and the congregational level, one of the main things that we are telling folks they need to be doing is to be building those multi-faith partnerships, especially in places that are both the lowest access, right? Those faith communities may be places and hubs for folks who are seeking abortion care and support for both, emotional and spiritual support, as well as financial and logistical support to access abortion in those low access states. They will also be hugely important in our high access states, right? Those multi-faith communities that can serve, to flex the muscles that we have developed through our work with asylum, through our work with sanctuary, through our work with supporting protesters, during the uprisings around police brutality and racial justice in the last few years. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But broadly speaking, we know that one of the most important things that congregations can be doing is, using this moment to deepen or to make those connections with other faith communities in their areas. We are a part of a burgeoning network called Sacred, which stands for, what is it? Spiritual Community. I'm going to have to find you the acronym. It's essentially a nationwide network of religious organizations and congregations that are coming together. It grew out of Texas and the organizing happening in Texas around the abortion ban there. And they're providing some curricula for congregations to do some education. They are also a hub for connecting with the major organizations working on helping people gain access to abortion care in this moment, as the network is very spotty. I will drop the link for Sacred in a couple of minutes here. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I got it. I got the link.
Thank you. Appreciate you. So Sacred has rolled out a curriculum. They recently just created a whole set of lawn signs, which are really beautiful, but it's like a moral, spiritual, religiously based message around abortion. It's going to be so important that we are out there publicly in so many ways, not ceding that territory to the radical religious right. So we're working with Sacred on a number of things. We are encouraging congregations to become members of Sacred, to join Sacred, to use their curricula. They now have a full-time organizer who is working with them. And if there are, if it would be useful to make relationship with Angela, their organizer there, I'm happy to make some introductions with folks, especially those of you who are in places where these issues are currently on the ballot. I'll get to that in a minute. We are also part of the National Liberate Abortion table. Liberate Abortion, as many of you probably know, is like the big national coalition working on reproductive rights, reproductive justice, and reproductive health right now. It includes everybody from sort of like the big, ultraviolet Planned Parenthood, kind of the mainstream reproductive rights and access and providers, all the way to, the National Network of Abortion Funds is a part of that coalition. Sister Song and Sister Reach are there, the local abortion access funds and, orgs that are working to get people connected are there. I would highly recommend that you sign up for the Liberate Abortion Coalition's mailings. They host events pretty regularly, including national calls around sort of like the distributed action strategy, which is happening a lot right now, where, for example, I believe this afternoon, there's like a national push to have people who are working in businesses do a walkout of businesses in protest of the recent SCOTUS ruling and in support of abortion access. Yeah, thank you, Lisa, for that link. They are, they're kind of a really good hub to kind of watch the national scale and to monitor what distributed actions are happening that your state may participate in. It's just a really good way to get connected through them. On a much more like, Side with Love is doing this as a, programming with our people level. We, for example, got a call from our friends in Kansas a couple of weeks ago. As you may or may not know, the Kansas elections or the primaries are happening on August 2nd. And on that ballot, there is a an abortion ban law being voted on. It's the first law to be voted on publicly by the people in any state since the overturn of Roe v. Wade. And there is a lot of organizing going into trying to defeat that bill. They reached out to us and said, how can Side with Love support? I know that CUUSAN is entering into conversations with them. And, you know, one of the things that we're hoping to do is, as we did, for example, in Georgia during the runoff election in 2021, we're not leading strategy in these places. We're not trying to by ourselves sort of stand up door knocking or canvases or whatever. But what we can do now that we are a well-resourced organization is that we can, for example, get a list of calls that one of the state-based organizations wants us to make. And we can say, yes, we can call 50,000 people in the next week or whatever. We can, you know, help to train door knockers. We can sort of add capacity to what is happening on the ground. And some of these small state-based organizations are really scrappy and like trying to hold it together. And the fact that we are there ready with people that we can coordinate is really helpful. So CUUSAN probably has more details than I about how this is going to shake out in Kansas. Do you want to say anything about Kansas, CUUSAN? Are you still in early?
Yeah, we had a great conversation yesterday. We're still figuring out what all can be done, but something will be done. Yeah.
Do the thing. And that's happening in like 3 weeks. So, you know, this is the sort of timeline that we're working with on this kind of stuff. As we know, there are, I believe, 26 states now in which there are abortion bans, and even more that are restricted, and more coming down the pipeline. So I know, you know, Russ has been working hard with our folks in Kentucky on a number of things there. This is, again, one of the reasons why we are pushing everybody to get involved with You the Vote, right? Like, this is not actually just about voter registration mobilization. This is about being a moral force around our values and the issues that matter most deeply to us, including things like reproductive justice and abortion access, because these issues are literally on the ballot, and our UU folks tend to be fairly skittish about being out there and loud and proud around our values when it comes to politics, because we have an aversion, right, to the way that the radical right has wielded religious language in politics. It is time to not be shy anymore, y'all. We got to get out there. So You the Vote is offering a lot of opportunities to get trained up in that sort of way. And I know, you know, you're all familiar with that campaign. The last thing I want to mention is that we are running a 3-part series, which we are internally referring to as our Congregational Reproductive Justice Boot Camp. We are inviting teams of people. This is not for individuals. In order to sign up, you must be a part of a congregational team or some other constellation where you are working with a team of people. And it's a 3-part series that Renwa Hamami and I are putting together as we speak, doing the planning for, but essentially it's to help congregations grow the skills and the analysis to be able to jump in helpful ways wherever they are, be it in a high access or low access state, to leverage the resources and the assets of their congregation to be partners in helping folks access abortion and into doing the cultural and political work that's going to be necessary in the coming times. Maybe somebody can also help me find the registration link for that one. Thank you. You know, it's going to be a 3-session thing. I will tell you that as of yesterday, we had almost 300 people registered, which represents over, I think, almost 200 of our congregations. So a full, you know, we're 1,000 congregations. So that'll tell you something. We got folks who are ready to mobilize. I would encourage you to continue to share this out through your networks. Thank you, Lisa. Folks do have to sign up for all 3 sessions, and they need to come as a team. And so, for example, if you are in a SAN where there might be a little tiny fellowship of 15 people where they can only find one person to participate, help connect them with others who are trying to do this work within the state. The reason that we're only running it for teams is because we know that the work is often very futile when it's only one person in a congregation who's showing up to try and move things. We want people to be well supported from the get-go in order to be as effective as possible. Thank you, Lisa, for that description. I also want to just highlight one thing that you may or may not have caught in the last few months. As you know, all of our campaigns are now under the umbrella of Side with Love as the place where we do our justice work. We are rebranding and relaunching Uplift. Uplift has traditionally sort of been the LGBTQ ministries work of the UUA, ministering to and with Unitarian Universalists who are LGBTQIA identified. There has been a tension around that because our world is attacking queer and trans people. We also have witnessed that the parallels between what's happening with queer and trans folks and anti-queer and trans legislation is exactly the same as what's happening on the reproductive rights and access side. It is literally the same playbook being run by the same folks on the radical political and Christian right. And so Uplift Action is the name of our new campaign that will work on reproductive, gender, and LGBTQIA justice. The tagline for that is Uplift Action because every body is sacred. We understand that the attacks on both reproductive and LGBTQIA rights and access and all these things, they're all around controlling the bodies of people, right? Like that is the unifying factor there. And so we understand this campaign as the way that we can, number one, de-silo the ideas around gender and reproductive and LGBTQIA justice because they are so deeply intertwined. But number two, make a space for folks to do that kind of intersectional work and advocacy and the words are leaving me. Activism, there we go. Thank you. Together and in the nexus of those three sort of really deeply intersecting issues. So you'll see that in that blurb that Lisa just dropped about this upcoming series, Side with Love's Uplift Action campaign is listed as the sponsor of that. We are going to be looking at in that series the spectrum of ways that congregations can be engaged, ranging from really low risk type things like having somebody write a letter to the editor or fundraising for your local abortion fund. All of these are really important things to do, and they don't require a very deep commitment or very much risk on behalf of a congregation. There will be, and there already is, places for congregations to take risks, including taking actions that will break the unjust laws that are being put into place. You may have seen President Susan Frederick Gray's speech at the rally in Portland when Roe was overturned, and she declared very clearly, we will break the law. Each congregation is going to need to do some fairly deep discernment work in order to figure out where, what part of that spectrum they have capacity and ability to participate in. We're going to be walking folks through sort of the gamut of experiences that may look, folks are passing laws trying to criminalize people leaving their states to access abortion. We know that SMA or self-managed medication abortion is going to be a huge way that folks are able to access care. Given that our congregations are safe spaces for that, we might be places that people could come and access that care. We could get our folks trained up in that. So again, spectrum of sort of possibility. The point of our series is to help people understand the landscape, look at the kinds of actions that congregations may be asked to take, and that could particularly, and that may have the opportunity to build, and to give people tools to do both asset and community power mapping of themselves and the places where they are so that they understand the opportunities, as well as some discernment around the kind of risks and the capacity that they have in order to meet this moment. So our hope is that by the end of this series, folks will have at least the bones of an organizing plan for every congregation that is participating in order to move into the next few moments. You could also easily brand this as a Love Resists campaign, because all of this is around criminalization, right? No abortion has been criminalized. And we want to encourage you all to keep emphasizing the deep intersectionality of reproductive justice and all of the other issues we care about. We are short on time. Russ, I see your hand up.
Thanks, Ashley. Real quickly, Ashley, as you know, in addition to my role as CUUSAN coordinator, I'm also director of the Justice Center at All People's Congregation. And I'm a member at First U in Louisville. So I'm curious around this team approach. If I can compel a coordinated team from Louisville, some members from First U, some members from All People's, could that count as a team, or do you need the teams to be congregation specific?
No, they can absolutely be is going back to their own congregation and unilaterally and unsupportedly trying to say, hey, I'm waving my arms. Can we please, be a part of creating a transportation network to move people across state lines? Like that's just futile. But what we want to make sure is that, get creative. Absolutely. If there are ways that folks can be mutually supportive, bringing multiple institutions and constellations of folks together, please. Yes. And every person who is a part of that needs to sign up themselves because everybody gets an individual link.
Whew. Ashley, we're so grateful for you. You just dropped an incredible amount of knowledge and just deep spiritual grounding for this work ahead. Thank you so, so much. I think we're short on time, but any other questions? Should we send them your way to you and Renoir? All right. Beautiful. Yes. And we'll get all that information out to folks in the notes. We've got 1 minute left. Let us pass it on to Deb for our closing words. And again, gratitude to Ashley for being our featured speaker today. Deb, you got some final words for us?
Yep, I'm just going to read a quote from Faye Waddleton, who is an American reproductive rights activist and who was the first African-American and the youngest president ever elected of Planned Parenthood Federation of America. Reproductive freedom is critical to a whole range of issues. If we can't take charge of this most personal aspect of our lives, we can't take care of anything. It should not be seen as a privilege or as a benefit, but a fundamental human right.
Amen. And in that spirit of the work ahead of us and just the beauty of this community, I hope we can feel the power in this room today and the connection. And it's just a blessing to be with you all today. So join us next time for our coalition meetings. When they are. You'll see the recording and the notes will come to you via email. So grateful to Ashley. Grateful to all of our partners who joined us today. Antoinette, I'm pumped. I'm pumped for the work that you all are doing. What a blessing to be a part of this community. Until we meet again, be well. Blessings to you all and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.